I pulled into the gravel lot and killed the engine, eyes flicking to the gas gauge one last time. Quarter tank left. Maybe enough to crawl back to town if this turned out to be another dead end. The job listing I'd found online was vague. Restaurant help wanted, experience preferred, but not required. Not exactly confidence-inspiring, but I wasn't in any position to be picky. The diner looked like it had been losing its fight against the desert for decades. Sun-scorched paint curled away from the walls in long strips, and the neon sign, once bold letters spelling out Miller's Diner, now flickered weakly, half its bulbs already gone cold. It sat along Highway 58 like a relic someone had abandoned, surrounded by nothing but brittle scrub brush and shimmering heat waves rolling off the asphalt. I grabbed my purse and stepped into the dry furnace air. The desert heat pressed against my back, seeping through my t-shirt as I walked toward the entrance. 3 weeks since graduation. 2 weeks since my last shift-tearing movie tickets at the theater back home. My savings account was clinging to double digits, and Mom had made it clear her basement wasn't a permanent solution. Not for someone with no college plan and no real job. This dusty roadside diner outside Barstow wasn't the future I'd pictured, but it was something. The bell above the door chimed as I stepped inside, a welcome wave of cool air brushing across my face. The interior looked better than the outside had promised. Red vinyl booths, checkered linoleum, a long counter lined with chrome stools. Classic diner setup. Not modern, not stylish, but solid. The heavy smell of coffee and frying grease clung to the air, familiar in a way that was almost comforting. A man was wiping down a booth near the front window. He moved with the practiced precision of someone who had done the same thing thousands of times. Mid-50s maybe, with deep grooves etched around his eyes and the kind of weathered face only years of hard labor could carve. His hands were thick, calloused. He didn't even glance up when I walked in. "Excuse me," I said, stepping closer. "I'm Emily Thompson. I called about the job posting." He finished wiping the table before finally acknowledging me, straightening up slowly and fixing me with pale blue eyes. They were cold, sharp, studying me with a weight that made me want to check my teeth for food. "Jacob Miller," he said. His voice was rough, gravel dragged over steel. "You're the one from the phone?" "Yes, sir. I can start whenever you need me to." Jacob reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded sheet of paper. The page was worn, creased, edges yellowed from overuse, handwriting in careful blue, ink. He handed it to me without explanation. "Memorize these," he said. "Tonight." I unfolded it. 5 rules, neatly numbered. If a customer orders 3 or more milkshakes, bring the order to me before making them. Do not clean the women's bathroom after 6 p.m. If you seat a group of 4 people and notice a 5th person at the table, move the group immediately. If a customer asks you to sing happy birthday, politely decline. If a customer orders something not on our menu, tell them it will take 2 hours to prepare. I read the list twice, waiting for the punchline. Nothing about it made sense. When I looked back up, Jacob was watching me with that same flat, serious expression. Not a flicker of humor. "Is this some kind of initiation thing?" I asked, trying to sound casual, like maybe it was new employee hazing. Jacob didn't answer. He just moved on to the next booth, cloth squeaking against vinyl. I followed, still holding the paper. I mean, the milkshake thing I sort of get, maybe a supply issue. But the bathroom rule, the singing, that's... He cut me off by walking behind the counter, pointed at the cash register, an old mechanical model with clunky buttons instead of a touchscreen. Cash drawer sticks sometimes. Push hard if it doesn't close. Then he motioned toward the kitchen window. Pass-throughs there, supply closets in the back hall. I tucked the paper into my pocket, nodding. The place felt frozen, in time, unchanged since the 80s. The coffee maker was the glass pot kind. The menu boards overhead had plastic letters you could snap in and out. "When do I start?" I asked. "Tomorrow, 7 a.m. Black pants, white shirt, comfortable, shoes. He moved to the next table, rag squealing against vinyl. I couldn't help it. A short laugh slipped out. Come on though, seriously. Those rules, especially the birthday one, those have to be a joke, right? Jacob froze. The cloth stilled in his hand. Slowly, he turned to me. His eyes locked on mine, cold and unblinking. The rules, he said, voice flat as stone, are not suggestions. The way he said it drained the air out of the room. My smile died on my lips. Something in his expression, utterly serious, no warmth, no trace of a prank, made me instinctively step back. Your life, Jacob added, eyes drilling into mine, will depend on following them exactly. The dead weight in his voice killed any urge to laugh. I wanted to ask what he meant, but the words stuck in my throat. He stood so still, so grave, I couldn't push the question past my lips. I didn't believe him, not really, but I stopped smiling. I left in silence, his words echoing in my head the entire drive home. Your life will depend on following them exactly. At every red light, I found myself pulling the crumpled sheet from my pocket, reading those 5 strange rules again and again. 2 weeks later, I understood exactly why he'd looked at me that way. My second Tuesday shift began like any other. Morning crowd light, few truckers, some construction guys nursing coffee before heading out. I'd already gotten used to the rhythm of the place. Jacob moved with machine-like precision, silent unless absolutely necessary. Around 10:30, a family came in. Mom, Dad, and a boy, maybe 8 years old. Completely ordinary. Casual clothes, easy chatter about chocolate chip pancakes versus French toast. The kind of people I'd been serving all week. Then the mother looked up and smiled. Could we get 3 chocolate milkshakes to start? My hand moved automatically for my order pad. Then Rule 1 flared in my head. If a customer orders 3 or more milkshakes, bring the order to me before making them. I'd memorized every rule, drilled them into my brain until I could recite them backward. Sure thing, I said, scribbling the order. I'll get those started. I carried the slip to the pass-through where Jacob was flipping eggs on the grill. Sweat clung to his forehead in the heat. Table 4 wants 3 chocolate milkshakes, I told him. His spatula froze. Slowly, he turned, looked at me, then at the order slip, then back at table 4. His jaw tightened, shoulders rigid. Wait here, he said. He wiped his hands, stepped out from behind the counter and walked toward the family. Every movement deliberate, careful. He didn't speak to them, just stood a few feet away, studying them with those pale eyes. The boy was scribbling on his placemat with crayons, the parents debating entrees. Normal behavior, nothing threatening, nothing that explained the tension stiffening Jacob's shoulders. After half a minute, he came back. His face was a mask, blank. Machine's broken, he said. Tell them we can't make milkshakes today. I blinked at him. The machine had been working fine an hour ago. I'd cleaned it myself during opening. Even watched Jacob test it like he always did. But his voice was final, cold. Machine's broken, he repeated. I walked back to table 4, confusion, twisting in my gut. I'm sorry, I said, forcing a polite smile. Our milkshake machine isn't working today. Can I get you something else to drink? The mother blinked at me, just for a heartbeat. Something passed over her face. Disappointment, maybe, or something else entirely. And that was when the rules stopped feeling like a joke. Or maybe something deeper. Then she smiled again. That same easy, pleasant expression as before. Oh, that's fine. We'll just take the check, please. They hadn't ordered a single thing, hadn't even touched the waters I'd set. In front of them. The family rose, left a lone $5 bill on the table, and walked out without another word. The kid dropped his crayons on the floor and didn't bother to pick them up. I was still frozen beside their empty booth when the sound hit my ears. Liquid splashing against metal. Jacob stood behind the counter, pouring 3 freshly made chocolate milkshakes straight down the drain. Thick ribbons of ice cream and milk swirled together, vanishing into the pipes. He rinsed the blender with scalding water, scrubbing until every trace was gone. The machine hummed quietly beside him, working perfectly. Things only got stranger later that week. It was Thursday afternoon, the dead stretch between lunch and dinner when the diner felt too still, too hollow. I was refilling salt shakers when a man in a rumpled business suit slid into the corner booth. He looked like the highway had chewed. Him up, wrinkled clothes, 3-day stubble, eyes bloodshot from miles of asphalt and not enough sleep. I dropped off a menu and water, running through the script I'd repeated 100 times already. He barely glanced at the menu before lifting his head, voice rough. "I'd like the dessert special, please." My pen froze mid-air. The dessert special. I knew this menu inside and out, every item, every price. There was no such thing. Rule 5 came back like a hammer. If a customer orders something not on the menu, tell them it will take 2 hours to prepare. The dessert special will take about 2 hours to prepare, I said evenly, forcing my tone to stay professional. Would you like to wait, or can I suggest something else? The man nodded slowly, like he'd expected that exact answer. I'll wait. He didn't ask what it was, didn't ask the cost, didn't even request a drink. He just folded, his hands neatly on the table, and leaned back like he had all the time in the world. I retreated to the kitchen, where Jacob was chopping vegetables with mechanical precision. When I told him the order, the color drained from his face so fast it was like watching blood retreat from a corpse. 2 hours, he asked, voice clipped. That's what the rule says. Without another word, Jacob disappeared into the back room. I heard cabinets banging open, boxes shifting, heavy objects dragging across the floor. 20 minutes passed. The man in the suit didn't move. Still as stone, hands folded, eyes fixed on nothing. When Jacob finally returned, his shirt clung to his back with sweat, his hands trembling faintly. He walked straight to the corner booth, voice low but steady. "We're out of the ingredients for the dessert special," he said, "but I can offer you a burger instead. On the house." The man stared up at him, silent for an uncomfortably long time. Then he slid from the booth, dropped a crisp $20 bill on the table, and left without a word. No change, no farewell, just gone. The bell above the door rang once as it shut behind him. Jacob stood frozen by the empty booth, eyes locked on the bill like it might detonate. Minutes passed before he finally picked it up and carried it to the register. Every step, weighted like stone. "What just happened?" I asked. He shook his head, refusing to meet my eyes. "Stick to the rules. No exceptions." That was all he'd give me. After that, I carried the list everywhere. The paper grew soft, the blue ink smeared from cool my fingers. I checked it before every shift, between every order, like scripture, and the incidents kept coming. Small, unnerving, always strange. A couple murmuring something low under their breath until Jacob appeared with fresh coffee. His fake smile tight until the sound stopped. A pack of teenagers crammed into a booth, and Jacob counted them twice before his shoulders relaxed. A woman asking about specials not on the menu, and me repeating Rule 5 with perfect word-for-word precision. Each time, Jacob's body went taut as a wire, and each time, after the danger passed, I caught the faintest tremor in his hands.